The sun rose slowly over the silver skyline of New Denver. The tall towers of the city shone with the morning light, and the air carried the soft hum of hovercraft engines moving through the air lanes. People were already starting their day, hurrying toward work, each of them surrounded by small drones and holoscreens. It was a new world, but it was still home to Rian Saul, the man who had once built one of the most powerful vehicle companies on Earth, Titan Motors. 10 years ago, Ryan had left Earth to help build the colonies on Mars and the orbital rings. Titan Motors had become more than a company during that time. It was a symbol of human progress. Its trucks, cars, and hover machines were used on Earth and across space. Humans depended on them for transport, mining, and trade. The slogan of Titan Motors had always been simple: for the strength of humanity. Ryan had believed in those words when he started the company from a small garage near the old city docks. He wanted machines that could stand against alien imports and show that humans could build their own future. But after 10 years away, something inside him felt uneasy. Messages from old friends and employees hinted that Titan Motors had changed. Prices were rising, workers were leaving, and customers were no longer treated with respect. The company's new management cared more about profit than people. Ryan had always promised himself that Titan Motors would never lose its heart, but now he feared that it already had. That was why he returned. He came back to Earth quietly, without announcement or press coverage. He took no guards, no assistants, no ships bearing his company name. He landed at a public port under a false identity, Rensol, a mechanic from the colonies. He dressed in simple gray clothes, wore a worn cap, and let his beard grow. The man who once stood on world stages now looked like an average worker. He wanted to see the truth of his company with his own eyes, not through reports or filtered news. When he stepped into the city again, the noise and smell of New Denver hit him with a wave of memory. The air was thick with the scent of synthetic fuel, fried food, and the faint metallic taste of ozone from the hover engines. He took a long breath and began walking toward one of his oldest dealerships, the Titan Motors Center in North Sector 5. The building stood tall among the glass towers, with a wide front full of shining hover trucks and ground vehicles. The company logo, a silver hammer and wing, still glowed proudly on the roof. But something about the place felt different. The smiling hologram of a salesman repeated the same line again and again. Buy now, pay double later. Titan gives you more. Rian frowned. That was not his slogan. He entered through the main gate. The inside was crowded with customers, machines, and salespeople. Holo ads floated in the air, flashing discounts and trade-in offers. Music played softly, and the smell of new metal filled the room. Ryan looked around. Everything looked modern, efficient, and polished, yet somehow lifeless. He walked to the main desk, where a young clerk was speaking to another customer. The clerk barely looked up when Rian approached. His tone was quick and impatient. "One moment, sir," he said, and turned back to his screen. Ryan waited quietly, his eyes scanning the room. He saw workers moving fast between customers, each carrying a tablet. Most of them were focused only on numbers, not people. They smiled without emotion, reciting memorized lines about speed, credit plans, and monthly rates. It was business, not passion. Then he saw her, a young woman with brown hair tied neatly behind her head, helping an old farmer near the hover truck section. She listened carefully as the man spoke, nodding with understanding. She smiled in a warm way that felt real. She answered each question with patience. Ryan could tell she was not faking interest. That small moment gave him a bit of hope. The clerk at the desk finally turned to him. "Yes, sir, how can I help you?" he said, his eyes half tired. "I am looking to buy a truck," Rian said. His voice was calm and plain. "Something reliable, strong, and simple." The clerk waved a hand toward the far row. "Ground section, right side. You can use the holo guide." He did not even offer to show the way. Rian nodded politely and walked to the section himself. The floor was smooth steel, and the lights above reflected off the vehicles. Rows of new Titan trucks stood ready, heavy machines with strong engines and bright paint. Their names were written in bold letters: Titan Storm, Titan Trail Runner, Titan X9. He walked slowly among them, remembering when he had designed the first model with his own hands. Back then, every bolt and panel had a story. Every machine was made with pride. Now they seemed like expensive toys for people who wanted status more than usefulness. As he looked around, the young woman from before approached him. She smiled kindly. "Good morning, sir. Can I help you find something?" "Yes," Ryan said, returning her smile. "I want a truck that can carry heavy loads, work long hours, and not break down easily." "I used to drive the old Titan Trail," she nodded. "Then you will like the Trail Runner X9. It is a modern version of that model. Strong frame, hybrid engine, adaptive tires. Not the fastest, but very reliable. Many workers prefer it." Her name tag read Mira. She was polite, confident, and spoke as if she truly cared about the machine she sold. Ryan followed her to a gray X9 parked near the corner. "This one has a dual-mode suspension," she explained. "You can drive it on ground or in low hover mode. It saves fuel, and it's good for rough terrain." Ryan ran his hand along the side of the truck. The surface was smooth and cold. He could feel the hum of the power core inside. "It feels solid," he said. "It is," Mira replied. "I drive one myself. My father works in the Northfields, and this truck can handle anything." Ryan smiled. "Then I will take it." Mira blinked, surprised. "Would you like to test drive it first?" "No need. I trust your word," Ryan said. She looked a little shy but pleased. "Thank you, sir. Please follow me to the counter. We can start the purchase process." As they walked, Ryan noticed a man watching from a glass office above the showroom. He wore a dark suit and had a sharp look in his eyes. When Mira brought Ryan to the main counter, the man came down immediately. "Good afternoon, sir," he said smoothly. "I am Bren, the manager of this branch. I heard you are buying the X9? "Yes," Ryan said. "Excellent choice. May I ask about your payment plan?" "Full," Ryan answered simply. Bren's eyebrows rose. "Full payment? Are you sure? It is quite a sum." Ryan took out a small silver chip from his pocket and handed it over. It looked ordinary, but it was a high-security credit key linked to one of his private accounts. Bren placed it in the reader. The screen flashed and beeped. The amount stored on the chip was far more than the total price. Bren's eyes widened slightly. He forced a smile. "Very good, sir," he said quickly. "We will have your truck ready in a few moments." As the papers were processed, Ryan stayed silent and watched. Bren's polite tone was fake. His eyes held greed. He whispered to another worker to check the chip's record, clearly hoping to learn who this simple customer really was. Ryan noticed but said nothing. While waiting, Ryan looked around the showroom again. Mira was helping another customer, an elderly couple trying to buy a smaller hover car. She treated them with the same respect as before, explaining each feature patiently. Bren, on the other hand, scolded a mechanic near the service door for being too slow. His voice was sharp, without care. Ryan saw the tired faces of the workers and understood the truth. The company he had built for people had become a machine that served money. Yet he said nothing. Not yet. He signed the papers, accepted the digital receipt, and walked toward the display area where his new truck waited. It gleamed under the lights. He planned to drive it out himself to see how the public reacted to the Titan brand. He wanted to know if people still trusted it. As he stood there checking the dashboard, he heard a sound behind him. A man's voice, low and full of worry, came from near the service desk. "Please, I just need a little help. My truck broke down and I need it fixed by tomorrow. I can pay half now, the rest after my next delivery." The clerk shook his head. "No credit allowed. You pay full or you leave." The man tried again, his tone desperate. "I have worked with Titan trucks for 20 years. I just need this one job to pay off my bills, please." Ryan turned slightly. He could see the man. His clothes were old, his hands rough from hard labor. He looked like someone who had spent a lifetime driving through dust and storms. Ryan's heart tightened. He remembered faces like that from the early days of Titan Motors. Those were the people who had trusted him, who had believed in his dream of human strength and fairness. The clerk's voice grew colder. "Company rules. No credit. Next." Ryan watched the scene quietly, his hand resting on the truck's door. Something inside him stirred. He had come here to see what had gone wrong. Now he was seeing it clearly. Ryan stood near his new truck, but his attention was fixed on the man at the service counter. The man looked tired and nervous. His jacket was worn out and there was grease on his hands. He held a small tool bag that seemed almost empty. His name badge, half faded, read Tom. Ryan watched as Tom tried once more to reason with the clerk. "Please, I only need one part replaced. The plasma converter broke. I can bring the money next week." "You know I always pay." The clerk did not even look at him. He pointed toward the sign above the desk. It read clearly, "No credit, no repair." Tom's shoulders fell. He turned away slowly and started walking toward the door. Ryan could see disappointment written all over his face. The man had not asked for charity, only for a chance to work. That single moment told Ryan everything he needed to know about how far his company had fallen. He stepped away from the truck and walked quietly behind Tom. Before he could say anything, Bren, the branch manager, called out from behind him. "Sir, your vehicle is ready. We appreciate your business." Ryan stopped and turned. Bren was smiling widely now, his earlier coldness replaced by a salesman's fake warmth. "You will enjoy this model, sir," Bren said. "It's one of our best sellers. Would you like us to send someone to install custom features? For a small fee, of course." Ryan smiled politely. "No, thank you. I can handle it myself." Bren nodded quickly. "Of course. May I ask where you work, sir? You seem like someone who knows machinery." "I worked in manufacturing," Ryan replied calmly. "Mostly with transport engines." "Ah, that explains your taste," Bren said. "Still, this is a rather expensive model for a worker." "I must say you have fine judgment." Ryan's tone stayed friendly. "Sometimes good machines matter more than fine clothes." Bren laughed lightly, not understanding the meaning behind the words. He handed Ryan a data pad for signature. As Ryan pressed his thumb to confirm the purchase, Bren leaned closer. "If you ever wish to sell this truck back to us, let me know. We could offer a premium if it stays in perfect condition." Ryan nodded but said nothing more. He accepted the keys, thanked Mira for her help, and walked toward the large glass doors where Tom had exited a few moments earlier. Outside, the wind was cool. The sky was a clear blue, and traffic lines shimmered with hover cars moving in steady patterns above the streets. Tom was standing near the corner, his small hover van broken down beside him. He was trying to start the engine, but it sputtered and went silent again. Ryan approached slowly. "Having trouble?" he asked. Tom turned, looking surprised. "A little. The converter burned out last night. I tried to get it fixed, but they want full payment first. I'll have to wait until next week." Ryan looked at the old van. It was one of the early Titan models built almost 15 years ago. He remembered that model well. It was one of his personal favorites. The frame was strong and the engine was designed for endurance. Seeing it broken made him feel strangely guilty, as if he had failed to protect something he once loved. "Mind if I take a look?" Ryan asked. Tom stepped aside, nodding. "Sure, but it's probably finished. Been running this old thing for too long." Ryan opened the hood and examined the parts carefully. He touched the converter housing, noticed the burn marks near the core, and smiled faintly. "The problem is small," he said. "The cooling line is blocked. If it's cleared, it will run again." Tom raised his eyebrows. "You can fix it?" Ryan nodded. He borrowed a small metal pin from Tom's tool bag, adjusted the line, and reset the valve. When he pressed the ignition again, the engine came to life with a low hum. The blue lights along the frame flickered, then glowed steady. Tom's eyes widened. "You did it. I was ready to scrap this van." Ryan closed the hood and wiped his hands. "Machines need care, not always money," he said. Tom smiled gratefully. "Thank you, friend. I don't know how to repay you." "Just keep working," Ryan replied. "Keep moving forward," Tom nodded. "I will. My family depends on this job. I deliver cargo to the outer farms. Without this van, I can't earn anything." Ryan looked thoughtful. "Tell me, have you always used Titan trucks?" "Always," Tom said with pride. "Ever since they built the first models. Back then, they were solid and fair. You could trust both the machine and the people who sold it. Things changed after the founder left. Now everything is about numbers. Prices are high and service costs are worse. But the machines are still good. That's why I stick with Titan." Ryan listened carefully. Each word confirmed what he already feared. He thanked Tom again and watched as the van rose slowly into the air before driving off down the street. He stood there for a while, thinking. He had seen enough to know that his company had lost its purpose. It was time to act, but he needed to be smart. He could not reveal himself too soon. He wanted to see how deep the problem went. Ryan walked back into the dealership. Bren was at the counter talking with another customer, and Mira was helping a young couple near the hover bikes. Ryan approached the service area quietly. Behind the counter, he saw a small group of workers sitting by the wall. Their uniforms were wrinkled and their faces looked tired. One of them whispered to another, "Bren's pushing us again. Says we must sell 5 extended warranties by tonight or lose our bonus." "Bonuses," the other worker muttered. He cuts them every month anyway. Ryan took note of their conversation, pretending to look at the trucks nearby. It was worse than he thought. Not only were the customers unhappy, but the employees were also struggling under bad leadership. After a few minutes, Mira came toward him with a gentle smile. "Sir, is everything fine with your new truck?" "Yes, thank you," Ryan said. "You were very helpful. May I ask how long you've worked here?" 3 years, Mira answered. "I started right after finishing my mechanic training. It's not easy, but I like the machines. They remind me of my father's workshop. He always said Titan stood for honesty and strength." Ryan looked at her thoughtfully. "And do you think it still does?" Mira hesitated, lowering her voice. "I want to believe it, sir. But things have changed. Management only cares about sales targets. Last week a family came in to buy a repair part, but Bren refused to help because their credit score was low. The founder would never have allowed that. My father says the founder built this company for people like them." Ryan smiled softly. "Your father sounds wise," she nodded. "He said Titan was once a name people respected. Now most think we only care about rich buyers. It makes me sad." Ryan felt a heavy ache in his chest. "Do you ever think the founder will return?" he asked. Mira laughed lightly. "No one knows where he is. Some say he retired on Mars. Others say he's living in the rings. But if he ever comes back, I hope he remembers the people who still care about his dream." Ryan wanted to tell her the truth right then, but he stopped himself. Instead, he said, "Maybe he will." At that moment, Bren joined them again. "Mira, I need you to handle the next 3 customers fast," he said sharply. "No long talks, no sympathy stories. Just close the deals." Mira nodded quietly and walked away. Bren turned to Ryan. "I hope everything is to your satisfaction, sir." "We value every customer." Ryan studied him for a second. "Tell me, Bren," he said calmly. "How long have you been managing this place?" 5 years, Bren said proudly. "Under my leadership, profits have tripled. We're one of the top-performing branches on Earth." "Profits," Ryan repeated softly. "That's impressive. And what about customer loyalty?" Bren looked confused. "Loyalty? Well, people come where the prices are right. That's what matters." Ryan nodded slowly. "I see." He thanked Bren again and walked back toward his new truck. Bren watched him go, smiling to himself, unaware of who he was speaking to. When Ryan sat inside the truck, he connected his wristband to the dashboard and activated the system manually. The control lights blinked and the onboard AI greeted him politely. "Welcome, registered owner. Would you like to sync with Titan Corporate Net?" Ryan paused. He typed a hidden command known only to the founder. The system's color shifted from blue to silver, unlocking a secure mode that only a handful of people in the galaxy could access. Lines of data filled the screen: employee reports, sales records, customer feedback, and internal communications. What he saw made his heart sink. Complaints ignored, workers underpaid, unfair contracts, and new rules that charge customers for repairs once covered under warranty. The name Titan Motors still shone bright, but inside it was full of cracks. Ryan turned off the display and sat in silence. He could not let this continue. Humanity depended on Titan machines to build colonies, transport supplies, and keep trade alive. If the company lost its honor, it would hurt more than profits. It would weaken human unity itself. As evening approached, Ryan drove the new truck through the city streets. The engine purred smoothly and the lights of New Denver reflected on its silver frame. He passed through markets, repair zones, and worker districts, watching the people. Some still wore Titan badges with pride, but many had replaced them with foreign symbols from alien manufacturers. He stopped near the old Titan headquarters, now a tall tower filled with executives and advertisements. Giant hollow screens displayed Bren-like faces promising luxury and status. None of them spoke about hard work, loyalty, or humanity. Ryan looked up and whispered to himself, "We built this company to lift people, not to step on them. Tomorrow I begin again." He drove away into the night, planning his next move. The next morning, Ryan returned to the Titan Motors dealership early. The city was just waking up, and the morning sun reflected off the steel and glass of New Denver. The streets were crowded with delivery vehicles, hoverbikes, and small transport drones. Ryan moved quietly among them, dressed as Rensol, a simple mechanic. He had kept his cap low over his eyes, letting his beard hide his face. No one would suspect that he was the founder of the very company they worked for. He entered the dealership through the side door, where employees entered before the public hours. Mira was already there, setting up display screens. She noticed him immediately. "Good morning, sir," she said politely, not recognizing him. "Good morning," Ryan replied with a small smile. "Just checking something." Mira nodded and went back to her work. Ryan walked slowly through the showroom, watching the staff as they prepared for the day. Salespeople hurried past customers, repeating their scripted lines. Some glanced at him suspiciously, wondering why a new worker was wandering around the floor before opening hours. He ignored them. He had come back to see the truth for himself. Ryan stopped near the service counter. He wanted to observe again how the employees treated customers. It had been a concern yesterday, and he hoped today would reveal more. A few minutes later, the first customer arrived. He was a middle-aged man with a tired face, carrying a small briefcase. His clothes were simple, not flashy. He walked to the service counter and greeted the clerk politely. "Good morning. I need to discuss a repair for my truck. It broke down last night." The clerk barely glanced at him. "You must pay in full." "No exceptions." The man's shoulders slumped. "I can only pay part now and the rest later," he said, trying to remain calm. The clerk shook his head. "No credit. Company rules. Next." The man stepped back, looking disappointed. He glanced around the showroom and saw the new trucks. His eyes lingered on a shiny Titan Trail Runner X9 parked at the corner. "I've been loyal to Titan," he said quietly. "For 10 years. I only ask for a chance to pay later." Ryan's heart tightened. He knew that voice. The desperation, the honesty, and the loyalty reminded him of the very reason he had built Titan Motors in the first place. This was not a rich client asking for more features or discounts. This was a human being depending on the company for survival. Ryan stepped forward quietly. "Excuse me," he said softly. The man turned. "Yes?" Ryan smiled. "I think I can help." The man's eyes widened. You can?" "Yes," Ryan said. "I know how to fix the problem and I can guide you through it." The clerk at the counter looked confused. "Sir, who are you?" Ryan ignored him. He walked closer to the man. "What seems to be wrong?" he asked. The man whose name tag read Tom explained everything. The plasma converter in his truck had overheated. The engine shut down and now he could not make his deliveries. He explained the routes, the cargo, and the urgency of the work. Ryan listened carefully, noting every detail. "I see," Ryan said. "The problem is small. It can be fixed quickly. You have a blockage in the cooling line. It is not the converter itself. Once it is cleared, your truck will work again." Tom's eyes brightened. "Really, you can do that?" "Yes," Ryan said calmly. "I can guide you. Do you have any tools?" Tom nodded and opened his small briefcase. Ryan examined the tools and picked the ones he needed. He stepped under the truck, checking the engine carefully. He instructed Tom on how to remove the blockage, adjust the coolant flow, and reset the energy core. The work was slow but steady. Ryan did not rush. He wanted to teach Tom to understand his machine, not just fix it temporarily. They worked together in silence, except for occasional instructions from Ryan. After a few minutes, the truck roared back to life. Blue lights glowed along the frame and the engine hummed smoothly. Tom's face lit up. "It works. It really works," he exclaimed. Ryan smiled. "Yes, you will be able to make your deliveries now." Tom shook Ryan's hand firmly. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved my job and my family's income." "Keep working hard," Ryan said. "Machines are tools, but your dedication matters more." The clerk at the counter watched silently, confused and annoyed. He could not understand why a stranger had helped a customer without asking for payment. Bren, the branch manager, had not yet noticed, but the scene was about to change the entire atmosphere. Ryan turned to the clerk. "Make sure the customer is assisted if there are any other minor issues. No extra charges." "That is company policy." The clerk frowned. "Sir, that is not—" "I am asking," Ryan interrupted softly. "Follow the instructions." Tom packed his tools quickly and nodded. "Thank you again. I will remember this." Ryan watched as Tom walked outside, driving the old Titan van with ease. The man waved back once, smiling. Ryan could see hope returning to him. For Ryan, it was a sign that Titan Motors could still mean something. The company could still serve humans, not just profits. As he returned inside, Ryan noticed Mira observing him. She approached him cautiously. "Sir, you helped that man?" Yes, Ryan said simply. He needed a fair chance. That is all. Mira looked thoughtful. I wish more employees would do that. The customers deserve respect and so do we. Ryan nodded. I agree. But respect must come from leadership. If the leaders forget, the workers suffer and the company loses its purpose. Mira frowned slightly. What do you mean? Ryan shook his head. Nothing for now. Just keep doing what you do. You are a good example. The rest of the morning passed with more customers arriving. Ryan observed each interaction carefully. Some employees treated customers with indifference, while others, like Mira, remained polite and helpful. The difference was clear. It was not about technology or machines. It was about humanity, about caring for the people who depended on Titan products. By midday, Ryan returned to his new Titan X9, parked outside. He wanted to take it for a short drive, to see how it handled and to experience the city from the driver's seat. The streets were busier now, with hover trucks carrying cargo to factories and farms. He followed the paths carefully, noticing how workers struggled with outdated equipment and poor services. He realized that Titan Motors' reputation was at stake. Machines alone could not carry humanity forward. The company's strength lay in its people, the workers, the customers, and the engineers who cared about every part of the vehicle. If they lost trust, humans would turn to alien manufacturers and Titan's legacy would fade. As he drove, a new thought came to him. The only way to restore the company was to act carefully. He could not reveal his identity yet. People must see the changes through actions first. He had to understand the depth of the problem before he could fix it. Returning to the dealership, Ryan parked and walked to the service area again. He noticed another customer arguing with a clerk. This man was frustrated, waving his hands toward the signs. I only need a replacement module. I have been loyal for years. I just need help now. The clerk responded harshly. Company rules. You can pay in full or leave. We do not make exceptions. The man's shoulders slumped and he turned defeated. Ryan felt a pang of disappointment. So many humans, so many stories, yet no one was listening. He remembered the first days of Titan Motors when every purchase and every repair had been personal. That vision had been lost, replaced by numbers and sales targets. Ryan decided he would not wait any longer. He needed to see the best and the worst of the dealership. He moved quietly toward the manager's office. Bren was speaking with a salesperson, giving instructions to increase sales and speed up processes. Ryan watched carefully, noting every word, every gesture. Bren had grown confident, focused only on profit, blind to the struggles of customers and employees alike. Ryan understood why Mira had been so unusual. She still cared, still remembered the values Titan Motors had been founded on. She was rare and she was valuable. He made a mental note to reward her later, once he regained control. By mid-afternoon, Ryan returned to the showroom floor. Another customer approached, a young mother with a small child. She wanted a simple hover van for daily commuting. The prices were high and she struggled to pay up front. The clerks offered no help, only repeating that the rules were strict. Ryan stepped forward silently. He did not reveal who he was yet. Instead, he guided her through payment options, showing how she could manage without losing her dignity. She left smiling, feeling respected and valued. As Ryan stepped back, he realized a truth that had been clear all along. The soul of Titan Motors was not in the machines, the numbers, or the advertisements. It was in the care, the respect, and the fairness that humans showed to one another. Without that, the company was only a hollow building filled with blinking lights and empty promises. That evening, Ryan sat alone in his X9, parked near the service entrance. The city lights reflected on the silver frame, and the streets hummed with the energy of human life. He had seen the worst and he had seen the good. He had seen greed, ignorance, and neglect, but he had also seen courage, loyalty, and honesty. Tomorrow, he would act. He would begin the work of returning Titan Motors to its original vision. He would ensure that machines served humans and humans were treated with dignity. But tonight, he allowed himself a quiet moment of reflection. He watched the city, the workers, and the customers. He understood now that his mission was bigger than profit, bigger than technology, and bigger than even himself. It was about the future of humanity. The morning sun painted long gold streaks across the city of New Denver. Ryan's soul, still disguised as Ren, stood at the entrance of the Titan Motors dealership, taking in the familiar sights. The building gleamed in the daylight, its metal surface shining like polished silver. Inside, the showroom was already buzzing. Employees moved swiftly between vehicles and customers, their faces set in neutral expressions. The usual advertisements and hollow signs floated in the air, promising discounts, trade-ins, and luxury packages. Yet beneath the bright lights, something had changed. The energy of human care was missing. Rian's heart was heavy. The previous days had shown him both sides of the company, the employees who still cared, like Mira, and those who had allowed greed to overtake their sense of duty, like Bren. He had seen customers treated unfairly, ignored or dismissed simply because the rules said so. Rules had replaced humanity. He adjusted his cap and walked inside, choosing a path along the vehicles. Each step brought memories of when he had first built Titan Motors, when every bolt and engine component had been tested by hand, and when he had personally met every customer who bought a vehicle. Those days had been hard, but they had been honest. Mira approached him as he passed by. "Good morning," she said quietly. "Are you here to look at another model today?" "Yes," Rian replied, "but I am also observing. Tell me, Mira, how do you feel about the current leadership?" Mira looked down for a moment. "I try to do my best, but sometimes it is hard. Bren cares only about numbers, not people. Customers who need help are dismissed. Employees like me try, but it feels like we are fighting alone." Ryan nodded slowly. "I understand. The company has lost its path. But we can fix that." Her eyes brightened slightly, though she did not know he was the founder. "Fix it? How?" "By remembering why Titan Motors exists," Ryan said softly. "We make machines to serve humans, not to serve greed. Every decision must start with care and respect, not profit." Mira smiled faintly. "I hope someone in charge sees it that way someday." Ryan knew that someday had to be today. He could not wait any longer. The longer the employees and customers suffered, the harder it would be to restore the company's reputation. He needed to act, but carefully. If he revealed himself too soon, people might resist, thinking it was a trick or publicity stunt. He needed to observe, plan, and then intervene in a way that would restore trust immediately. He walked further into the showroom. A family was browsing the Titan hover cars. The father, a construction worker, looked nervous. He examined a mid-range vehicle carefully, checking the cabin space for his wife and young child. When he approached the clerk for assistance, the response was cold. "I can only sell the vehicle if you pay the full amount today," the clerk said sharply. "No payment plans." The father hesitated, looking down at the shiny floor. I can pay half now and half later?" "No," the clerk replied firmly. "Company policy next." The father's face fell. His shoulders slumped, and he slowly turned away. The young child clutched his mother's hand, looking worried. Ryan stepped forward, his heart tightening. This was the same pattern he had seen before. Loyal humans being dismissed simply because they could not meet arbitrary rules. "Excuse me," Ryan said, approaching the family. "I can help you find a solution." The father looked at him cautiously. You can?" "Yes," Ryan said. "I know how to work within the system. You will be able to take the vehicle without breaking your budget." The clerk frowned. "Sir, this is not—" Ryan smiled politely but did not allow interruption. "Please let me assist." He guided the family through the paperwork, showing a method to split the payment without extra fees. The father and mother followed his instructions carefully, grateful for the help. When the forms were complete, their new vehicle was ready. The child clapped in excitement. "Thank you," the father said sincerely. "You don't know how much this means to us." Ryan nodded. "Just remember to keep trusting in people, not only rules." The family left, waving, and Rian returned to the floor. Mira had been watching quietly, her eyes wide with curiosity. "How did you do that?" she asked. "Observation and understanding," Rian said. "Sometimes the system fails because those who manage it forget the human element. It is our job to remind them." Mira looked thoughtful. "I wish someone in charge would remember." Ryan smiled softly. "Someone will." He continued walking toward the service area. Behind the counter, a man in his late 20s was arguing with a clerk. His name badge read Tom. He held a small toolbox and was explaining the urgency of a repair. "I cannot wait any longer," Tom said. "My delivery schedule is full and I need the truck now." "I have been loyal to Titan for years." The clerk ignored him. You must pay in full, she said. No exceptions. Ryan felt his chest tighten. He had seen Tom yesterday struggling with the same rules. This time he would not wait. He stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Stop, he said. The word cut through the noise of the showroom. Everyone turned to look. Tom blinked in surprise. You? Yes, Ryan said, walking closer. I can help you. The clerk at the counter opened her mouth, but Ryan continued. The repair is simple. The cooling line is blocked and the engine will work once it is cleared. I will guide you. Tom's eyes widened with relief. You can fix it? Yes, Ryan said. Follow my instructions. Together they went to the service bay. Ryan carefully examined the truck. He guided Tom through the steps to remove the blockage, adjust the coolant flow, and reset the energy core. Tom followed every instruction, amazed at the ease and speed of the repair. Within minutes, the truck roared back to life, its lights glowing steadily along the frame. Tom's face lit up. It works. I can deliver my cargo on time.
Thank you so much.
Ryan smiled. Remember, loyalty and honesty matter as much as machines. Take care of this truck and it will take care of you. The clerk at the counter looked angry and confused. Sir, you cannot just do that. Company rules. Company rules must serve humans, not the other way around, Ryan said firmly. Make sure this truck is fully serviced and ready for him. No extra fees. He turned back to Tom. Go and make your deliveries. Keep moving forward. Tom nodded quickly and left, driving the Titan truck with care and pride. Ryan watched him go, a sense of hope rising in his chest. He returned to the showroom and saw Mira approaching. Who are you, really? She asked quietly, curious about his confidence and knowledge. Ryan smiled faintly. Just someone who remembers what Titan Motors was meant to be. Mira's eyes widened slightly, but she said nothing. Instead, she nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. Ryan moved toward the manager's office. Bren was busy talking on a hollow line, giving instructions to staff about sales targets and performance quotas. His voice was sharp, his tone focused only on numbers. He did not see Ryan approaching. Ryan paused at the door. He knew that confrontation with Bren would be necessary. Bren had allowed greed to replace human care, and it was time for him to understand that his leadership was flawed. Yet Ryan also knew that it could not be done recklessly. The employees and customers needed to see fairness first before fear or anger. He decided on a plan. He would act today, showing the truth of Titan Motors in action. He would reward those who cared, assist those in need, and observe Bren's reaction. Only then would he reveal his true identity. Ryan returned to the showroom floor and noticed a crowd gathering near the entrance. A family had arrived looking lost and nervous. The father held a small payment device in his hands, unsure how to proceed. The clerks looked at each other, hesitant to help. Ryan walked over. Good morning, he said, his voice calm. I can help you with that. The family looked at him with relief. You can? The mother asked. Yes, Ryan said. Follow my instructions and you will be able to take your vehicle home today. He guided them step by step, showing how to split the payment legally and fairly, ensuring no extra fees were applied. The family smiled, their worry replaced by gratitude. The young child clapped happily as the vehicle doors opened. Mira, standing nearby, watched quietly. I have never seen anyone do that, she whispered. Ryan looked at her and said, When leadership forgets humanity, someone must remind them. By late afternoon, Ryan felt the weight of the day. He had helped several customers, repaired trust in the company, and observed both the loyal employees and those lost to greed. Yet he knew the hardest moment was coming, the confrontation with Bren and the revelation of his true identity. Ryan walked to his Titan X9, parked near the front. He ran his hand along the smooth metal surface, reflecting on the journey. Machines could be repaired, numbers could be corrected, but human trust was fragile. Today, he had begun to rebuild it, and tomorrow he would take the final step. Ryan stood in silence, watching the sunset over New Denver. The city hummed with life, full of workers, families, and travelers. The machines glowed faintly under the fading light. And in the middle of it all, a single truth remained. Titan Motors must once again serve humans, not rules. He took a deep breath. He was ready to act. The days after the great revelation at the dealership passed quietly, but with a strong sense of change in the air. Ryan's unexpected visit had shaken everyone. For the first time in years, the workers realized that their every action carried weight. The man they thought was an ordinary buyer had turned out to be their own boss, the founder of Terra Motors himself. Inside the dealership, new rules were written on the wall. The first rule said, "Every customer deserves truth." The second rule said, "Every worker deserves respect." The third rule said, "Service before profit." These were Ryan's personal principles, and now they were the heart of the company again. Mira stood near the main counter, adjusting the settings on her new manager's badge. She was still getting used to being in charge. Just a week ago, she had been a simple mechanic who repaired vehicles at the back of the workshop. Now she was leading a team of 20 people. Some respected her, some envied her, but everyone knew she had earned her position through honesty. Taro walked beside her, holding his repaired data tablet. He had been given his job back and even received a special commendation from Rian. The older man smiled as he watched customers walk in. For the first time in many years, there was laughter and real energy in the place. Rian visited often, but without his disguise this time. He spoke kindly to everyone and listened to their problems. Instead of big speeches, he believed in showing change through small daily acts. When he saw a worker helping an elderly customer, he thanked them personally. When he saw someone trying to cut corners, he corrected them with patience. Slowly, the dealership began to transform, not just in numbers, but in spirit. One morning, Ryan arrived earlier than usual. He parked his Titan XR outside the main building and stood for a moment to watch the sunrise. The golden light reflected off the vehicle's metallic surface. It was a beautiful sight, a mix of human design and natural beauty. Ryan smiled softly. The truck that had once been part of his secret test was now a reminder of how one act of honesty could change everything. When he entered the dealership, Mira greeted him with her usual cheerful tone. "Good morning, sir. The sales numbers for this week are ready," she said. Rian nodded and followed her to the office. The report showed a clear rise in customer satisfaction. Reviews mentioned kindness, fairness, and respect. Even the company's reputation online was improving. "This is good," Ryan said. "But remember, numbers are not our goal. The goal is trust. Keep building that and success will follow naturally." Mira smiled. "I understand, sir. Taro has been helping with new training sessions. He teaches the new workers how to handle customers with patience." Ryan turned to the old man sitting nearby. "You have done well, Taro. You turned your pain into guidance for others." "That is not easy." Taro chuckled lightly. "I only tell them what I wished someone told me years ago. Honesty saves time and heartache." Ryan appreciated his words. He knew that wisdom like Taro's was more valuable than any technology. That day, Ryan decided to walk around the city after work. New Luma was a modern city with tall glass towers and floating transport pods. But among all the technology, he noticed how people still depended on one another. Machines delivered packages, drones fixed streetlights, but only humans could offer a smile or kindness. That was something no artificial system could replace. As he walked past the dealership's outer display zone, he saw two young workers cleaning the trucks. They were laughing and competing to see who could polish faster. Ryan stopped for a moment and spoke to them. "Good spirit, but remember, careful work is better than fast work." They both saluted playfully and Ryan laughed. He enjoyed these small interactions. They reminded him of the early days when he was just a mechanic with big dreams. Later, he sat inside the Titan XR and activated its AI companion. The calm voice greeted him. "Welcome back, Rian. Would you like to review today's dealership data?" He smiled and replied, "Not today. Tell me something else. Tell me what you have learned since the day we met." The AI paused before answering. "I have learned that human decisions often appear illogical, but lead to positive outcomes when guided by emotion and ethics. I have also learned that fairness is valued higher than efficiency." Ryan looked at the steering console and nodded slowly. "That is a good answer. You are learning more like a person now." The AI responded, "Perhaps I am learning from you." Ryan drove through the city streets quietly. He thought about how far the company had come. From a single workshop on Earth to dealerships on several colonies, Terra Motors had become a name known across human space. But power had slowly blinded some people in the system. His undercover mission had opened his eyes again. He passed by a group of children playing near a service center, They were pretending to drive trucks, laughing and shouting. One of them said, "Look, I'm driving the Titan XR." Ryan smiled again. It made him proud to know his creations inspired imagination, not just profit. When he returned home, he sat on his balcony overlooking the wide city. The stars were beginning to appear above the skyline. Among them, he could see the faint lights of orbital stations where human engineers worked to build new colonies. Humanity had come far, but he wondered if they could keep their morals strong as they expanded. He thought of Mira and Taro. They were proof that good people could keep hope alive. If every branch had people like them, the company would never fall again. He decided to start a new program named The Honest Path, a training system that would teach workers across all Terra Motors branches about fairness, respect, and empathy. Over the next few weeks, the program spread across the network. It included stories, examples, and interviews. Ryan made sure to include Taro's story of struggle and Mira's act of courage. Thousands of workers watched and learned. Slowly, a culture of integrity grew stronger. One day, Mira called Ryan to tell him that customers were visiting just to meet the staff who had changed the company's reputation. Families thanked them for treating them kindly. Even other dealerships started copying their way of service. Ryan listened and said, "That is how it should be. Let them copy honesty. It will only make our world better." That evening, a small ceremony was held at the dealership. Ryan attended not as the boss, but as a friend. The workers had planned it to celebrate the 1-month anniversary of the company's renewal. There were simple decorations, light music, and food made by local families. Mira gave a short speech. "When our boss came here as a simple buyer, we did not see him for who he was. But he saw us for what we were. Some of us failed his tests, some of us passed, but all of us learned. Today we stand united not as employees, but as a family." The crowd clapped and cheered. Ryan felt a warm feeling rise in his chest. He did not speak much, but when he did, everyone listened. "You all did the real work. I only reminded you what it means to be human. Machines can follow commands, but only people can choose kindness. Keep choosing it, and you will never lose." After the ceremony, as the night grew quieter, Ryan walked outside. He looked up at the stars again and thought of the future. There were new markets to explore, new planets to reach, and new challenges to face. But now he knew that strength alone was not enough. Humanity's power came from its heart. The Titan XR stood nearby, shining under the moonlight. Its AI spoke softly. "Are you satisfied with today's events, Ryan?" He smiled and said, "Yes, I am. Today I saw what makes humans special." The AI asked, "And what is that?" Ryan looked at the stars and replied, "It is the ability to care. No machine can learn that fully. It must be lived." He stepped inside the truck and started the engine. The soft hum filled the air as he drove slowly through the quiet streets. Every light he passed reflected the progress of his journey, not just as a leader, but as a human being who rediscovered his purpose. When he reached the top of the hill outside the city, he stopped the truck and looked back. The lights of the dealership glowed brightly. He could see people still talking and laughing inside. It was not just a business anymore. It had become a symbol of fairness and hope. Ryan took a deep breath. He felt peace knowing that change had truly begun. In a world full of machines, he had found what mattered most: honest people who cared about doing what was right. And so, the undercover boss who once entered his own dealership in disguise now stood proudly as the man who reminded humanity of its greatest strength, the power of truth and kindness that no technology could ever replace.